What is going on, next level? Welcome to another video. My name is Mike Angelo. Today we are doing a low drop fade. We're breaking it down step by step. If you're new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe. This is the channel for you. If you're a beginner barber or wanting to learn how to cut hair, this is the right channel. So make sure you guys subscribe, hit the like button. Let's jump right into this tutorial. The first step that I'm doing, I am debulking. I got the number 2 guard with the lever open, and I'm just scooping off, going upwards right off that parietal ridge. The top is already cut. I'm gonna link it at the end of the video right in the corner of the screen. Using your fingers, you'll be able to identify where to set your first bald guideline. So we are doing a low drop fade, so it's right at the pinky finger, a 1/4 inch from the ear, and we are doing a low drop fade. So we are going to be dropping it towards the back, towards the tip of the bone, and we're eliminating the hair that's underneath with the trimmers. As you can see, right in the tempo, I started a little bit low. The reason why is because we want to make sure that the C cup is dark when we line it up, so it's going to pop out more and you'll be able to identify that it's a low drop fade. Once you got that guideline set, you want to make sure that you dust off all the hair because we're going to be following it up with the electric shaver. So when you use this electric shaver, you want to make sure that when you're going around the ear, you're using kind of like if you were fading just the tip, and when you reach the back of his neck, I usually like to use the full foil. That way it grabs all the hair. I work a lot faster and I can blend it in a little bit more. Our first guideline towards the fade, we're going to be using the clipper with no guard, and we're setting our first initial guideline. So we're going up about 1 inch. I want to make sure that I follow the previous guideline that I did with the trimmer. That is going to be the key to create a nice fade. The neater the guidelines, the nicer the fade will be. So take your time with this one. This is the most important guideline that you're going to create because this starts the fade. So having a good foundation towards the fade is always going to be better. And then to erase that guideline, we're going to use the clipper with the lever closed. And I always like attacking the bottom line first. That is the hardest line to erase. So what I do first, I close it. I work in sections, so from the temple all the way behind the ear. I use the lever close and I slowly open it each notch all the way until I hit the top of that guideline. And it should be erased by then. Once you complete that section, you move towards the back. So now it's another section from the ear towards the tip of the bone. Remember, I start with the lever closed and I slowly open it until that guideline is erased. Now we're gonna jump into the number 1 guard with the lever closed. We're doing the same step. We're using the lever closed. We're going up about 1 inch. And you gotta follow the previous guideline you did before. So remember, when you set guidelines, they have to be nice and neat, and that will make the fade just be so much better. Follow it consistently, and then you erase it once you set it. Once you have your guidelines set, we're going to be working with the half guard with the lever open, and literally we're just using like the corner of the blade. We want to make sure that we don't go past this guideline. That's the whole reason why we do these guidelines, is to keep us organized and keep us focused on where we're at. So again, we are working in sections from the temple to behind the ear. I like to do this because it keeps me organized. It creates tunnel vision. I know exactly where I'm at, where I'm going. Once I erase that line, then I keep continuing to my next section, which is behind the ear down to the tip of the bone. So as you can see, I make sure that I flick out because I don't want to create more harsh lines. What I want to do is to eliminate these lines. So I use the corner of the blade and scoop away. So what I do first, I start with the lever open. I work my way from left to right. Once I complete, go back to the left side, I close it, and then I continue doing it repetitively until that guideline is erased. Sometimes the half guard doesn't catch anything. Before you continue, it has to be completely out. So if it's not completely out, you take off that guard, the half guard, and use the clipper with the lever open and just detail that work. You'll be able to tell if you left any lines behind by looking at the mirror. So if you have any doubts, if you have any questions, always look back at the mirror. The mirror never lies. The mirror is like your third eye. It tells you and indicates you your mistakes. So look back, look for those dark spots and detail, erase that line before you continue for your next step. Before we continue to our next step, I want to remind you that the top is already cut. We already cut it, we added texture, and we did set a foundation. So we did know we're doing the low drop fade, so we cut it precisely to where we can do a low drop fade without going any higher. So our next step is going to be fading from that parietal ridge, from that foundation that we set previously. If you guys want to watch that video, we're going to link it at the end of the video right in the corner of the screen, so feel free to check that video out. Our next step is going to be using the 1.5 guard with the lever open, and we're going to be scooping off that foundation that was set previously. In this step, we don't want to set a guideline because that foundation is already set. We're going to fade from that foundation down to the skin. So we're meeting in the middle and we are connecting the parietal ridge to the fade at this point. During this step, you want to make sure that you're flicking out and barely cutting anything from that foundation or that longer hair on top, and then follow it up by closing the lever and fading right underneath it. That way it'll be a lot easier and softer for our next step. Once you finish that step, we're going to eliminate those dark lines using the number 1 guard with the lever open, and we are using the corner of the blade to erase these guidelines. You don't want to use the full blade because it could create another line, which you don't want. We actually want to do the opposite. We want to erase it. So using the corner of the blade will make sure that you don't set another guideline. Close it little by little, and that guideline should be erased. We are continuing the same steps on the other section behind the ear down to the tip of the bone, using just the corner of the blade to soften up that line, and we're slowly closing it as we go a little bit down further, all the way until that line is erased. If it doesn't erase it, that means that we have to jump back down a guard. So from that number 1 guard, our next guard going down will be the half guard, and that's what we're using next to completely erase these lines. We're using the same method with the half guard with the lever open. Same method as we did previously on our steps. We're working in sections from the temple to the ear, and then from the ear back down to the tip of the bone. You're giving me wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. When you're done with the fading system, it's time to connect the fade to the long hair on top. The best method to do that is using clipper over comb. The best way to use clipper over comb is to scoop in and scoop out. Whatever is longer from the comb, that is what you cut. The first thing that I like to do when I use clipper over comb is to debulk. This is connecting the parietal ridge, and I am debulking any extra weight. So debulking means using the clipper side to side, and then blending means using the clipper going at an upward position. Right here it's just connecting the fade to the parietal ridge. We already debulked some of the heavy extra hair on top, and then we connected using the upward position. Don't leave me here high and dry. Once you got the fade connected to the top, then the last step you have left is to detail. This is where you have to take the majority of your time. The more detail you put into the haircut, the better it will be. As I mentioned before, if you have any doubts in the haircut, look back at the mirror. The mirror never lies. It's always going to indicate where you left off, or if you have any dark spots that you have to detail. So when you detail, I usually like to start off with the no guard on the clipper with the lever open and closing. So in this step, you're doing a lot of trial and error. As you're kind of just figuring it out, getting those dark lines, always look back in the mirror and if you have anything left over on the top, instead of using the clipper over comb, use the shear over comb. This will kind of target more detailed and any dark spots left behind or heavy weight. And then point cutting right here will add a little bit of texture and eliminate some weight from the parotid ridge that you want to blend in. Our final step to complete this haircut is going to be adding the lineup. So what I like to do is use the trimmer to create a natural look for its lineup. And when you're using the trimmer, don't apply too much pressure, because a lot of our clients, they have really sensitive skin. They could get a small cut or create some redness in their skin. It doesn't have to be as sharp as possible, because we are going to follow it up using the straight razor towards the end. Before you put the trimmers away, you want to make sure that you use it effectively throughout the whole haircut. So doing the lineup on the mustache, eyebrows, behind the ear, on the ears, and clean up any beach fuzz on the cheeks. So use it effectively. You don't want your client to go back home and do this at his house. He's already in your chair, so just take care of it as he is there, and I promise you he will appreciate it, and you might get a tip afterwards. Finishing up the lineup using the straight razor. Right now I'm just following that line that I did with the trimmers, and I'm using the heel of the razor blade. Just following that line, and make sure you use the razor blade because it will pop out more. It will give it more definition to the haircut, and also make sure you get behind the ears, get the neck area with the razor blade. While styling the top, I am using a matte finish. The reason why you want to use a matte finish, especially with this hairstyle, is because we did add texture to the top, and that matte finish is going to make it look more natural, and it's going to expose all that texture that you did on top. If you follow this step-by-step tutorial, these will be your results. As you can see in the beginning, we added a foundation to the low fade, kept the parotid ridge dark, added some texture to the top. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I really hope you learned something from this video. If you want to learn how to cut the top, I'm going to link it right here in the corner of the screen. If you guys want to learn, I will see you on that video. My name is Mike Angelo, and I will see you there.